we will resume the meeting, and once again, we'd like to congratulate our retirees and congratulations. Thanks for coming.
Much better. As a matter of fact, if we maybe tone down a little bit, that might even be better.
And we have one more special presentation tonight, which is the Spotlight on Millard Hawk. And I believe the way it's going to work is Pearl's going to play a video, but Principal Beal is on the Zoom meeting, so if after the presentation there's any questions, feel free to ask them. So Pearl, over to you.
Great job. Can you guys wave to Cynthia? My friends at home? Say hi. Boys and girls in class, can you wave too? Turn the facts around. Say, put your arms out, Zoe. I'm watching you. See my arms? The commutative property turns the facts around. Right? It flip-flops it. It flip-flops it. So this goes back to our arrays, and you're going to see what I mean when I share the screen again. Good job, Zoe. Nick, do you have it? Good job, Sal. Dean, do you have it?
questions, or Mrs. Beal, if you're online, if there's any comments or anything you want to add?
Hi, thank you. Just a huge thank you to all of our staff who you saw there in the video and beyond the video. And a huge thank you to all of our families who have been so supportive and patient through this reopening. They've been wonderful and flexible and so supportive. And so I'd like to take the opportunity here to say thank you to all of them. And thank you to our leadership for creating this awesome plan with our input and really getting our schools reopened so the students, although it's only 2 days a week, we really love having them in person. So, and our 100% virtual kids, that's going very well too. So just thank you everyone for all your help getting us to this point.
Any questions from the board?
Well done.
Yeah, great job. Yeah, thanks for putting that together. And Mrs. Beal, I certainly don't expect you to do this on the fly here, but if there's anything we can do to, better support what you guys are trying to accomplish, please let us know. But looks like great work. Thanks for that.
Thank you so much.
All right, with that, we'll move into reports. Upcoming board presentations are listed in the agenda, so that's kind of standard fare there. Mrs. Fishman, anything you want to bring up? All right. I just wanted to ask, I don't know are we doing anything as far as, do we have any updated budget projections? I wasn't at the last meeting, but, and I know it's only been a month since, the last one, but how things are trending with, our reopening plan budget-wise, or any updates there, or is that to come?
That will come. We've just closed, like, in the last week and finalized all these numbers.
Yep.
And get moving forward.
I was looking through the city notes, their projection for our, I forget what they call it, but our refund basically, how's that compared to what you had, or we had expected budget-wise?
All of those things are basically in our other income. We get a refund from both seas, we get different contributions, donations, that type of stuff. So it's up, budgeted up last year and this year, but that was more based on our health insurance pieces that are coming back in. So it hopefully will make us a little bit over.
And more than normal, Chris Todd had said, and we knew to expect a higher one return from BOCES this year.
Yeah. And is there any update, or has there been any more? I think it was the end of August was when we received our first withholding from the state of the 20%, even though they aren't doing it yet, they say. Has there been any additional withholding?
No, there is an update though. We did actually receive a full payment this month with no withholdings.
But not the back, we still didn't receive the 20% that was withheld in August, right?
Correct.
Okay. And do they have any word on that? Like, should we expect it, or is there any communication about the withholding?
There's been a couple of back and forths. They did not receive or take the withholding on this month's money. There was there's a lawsuit that was submitted by NYSET regarding the 20% aid cuts, that was not constitutional based on a couple of different laws. And there has been, actually, I don't remember, was it Como himself who said, stop with these drastic cuts out to the school districts.
Yeah, so there were some districts that started to make their cuts prior to the school year, so then they wouldn't have to, build program, hire new staff, only to have to cut. The big thing that everybody out there watching this should understand is that the governor had the ability this year to be able to go in and adjust based on the revenue. So the last time that he can come in is December 31st. So there have been 3 up to this point, right, going back from the last closure, that he kept saying that he'll give us the numbers, let us know what it's going to be, and each one of those time periods expired without him giving us that information. Even though, and that's great that NYSET had that lawsuit, and there were no withholdings for any of the state aid allocations for the month of September, but everybody that we have spoken to, Chris Todd says it again, he works for state aid, if we think that that's going to stop there, it's definitely not going to stop there. With the majority of New York City still boarded up, revenue has been obviously hit hard. They have been saying it's only been about 13% so far, the revenue lost. But again, with him having the ability to go in on the 31st, that's going to be very telling at that point. If it's not 20, is it going to be 15% cut? And then we'll have to then make some pretty serious decisions.
Has there been any word on the CARES Act refund that they took?
Our application is in there for the money. I don't believe that any of them will be rejected, because I mean, it's basically, it was money, replacing money that they already had said that we would get. It's just a matter of making sure we line up all the dots correctly so that because basically all of us need to submit something for the state to submit for the feds to be eligible to get it.
Okay.
But we have not received it yet.
Given the governor still has unlimited and unchecked power, in essence, he really does. That's what they gave him in March or April. What would stop him from going past that December deadline?
I think that was how the executive rule was written, that they would have those 3 look-back windows. And then, once that happens, they're supposed to be submitting it to the legislature for approval. And that's what hasn't happened.
Right, but what I'm seeing him do on other things is just kind of, all of a sudden now it's another thing. So don't underestimate, he unequivocally has unchecked and unlimited power in the state right now. Period, end of statement. And his ability or desire to do things are just mind-boggling to me. I mean, on one end, he tells our kids we can go trick-or-treat, like, get something done. You know, I don't really give a damn about trick-or-treat. So I'm worried about that getting extended even further from a date perspective.
Well, and just to piggyback on that, you just saw today's announcement that he's closing school districts in New York City in the hotspot areas. I mean, when he controls what that hotspot is, or not the hotspot, but what that threshold is, that when he all of a sudden determines if he feels people aren't wearing masks, or if he feels people, for whatever reason, aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing, it's a shutdown. We've seen that with local businesses in Onondaga County, and I think one even in Oswego County just gets shut down like that overnight. So.
Yeah, and I called Patty Ritchie's office last week, and they've introduced legislation twice to take this executive powers back. Neither time did it pass through the legislature due to New York City, so and down there. So they're trying to take it back, but unsuccessfully.
What's the limiting factor? What's causing?
New York City.
New York City, New York City, you know, legislatures are not supportive of it. I think he's doing a great job. So, call. That's all I can say.
Any other topics that board members wanted to bring up before I open it up to our student board rep?
I just want to make a comment on the whole, I've seen some, I'm not on Facebook as everybody knows, and I've seen some posts and some screenshots sent to me. I'd just like to reiterate for the community, the fact that our administrative team, I don't think this board unwittingly just follows the superintendent and his team blinded. They have spent, I'm guessing, over 5,000 hours between the whole management team developing this plan. This was not a willy-nilly plan that we put in place. It wasn't done over a weekend. We had strict guidelines from the governor's office, from state ed, or whoever the hell they were from. And I am convinced that these folks worked, I don't know how many hours, but I know for a fact it's in the thousands. So I think it's insulting that people think we just agreed to a plan, again, willy-nilly. It's offensive and it's insulting, and I applaud the team that put it together.
Well, and I thank you, Tim, and I'd be remiss if I didn't say that I too see the criticism and I get it. I have thick skin. But when people are questioning, other administrators, and the bottom line was this. There are districts, and I won't name it, would not be good business for me to name other districts that are struggling right now that brought high school kids back. But they're struggling right now because to bring them back, if they were blocked, they had to then go to about 35 or 40-minute classes. The kids are in the high school 2 days a week, so they'll see their teacher, 35 or 40 minutes one day, the next day 35, 40 minutes, and then it is pretty much non-existent for those next 3 days. If the kids want to go on and practice work, but in the majority of districts that I'm seeing in that situation, there is not connection with the teacher, there's not handing in lessons. So the 3 out of the 5 instructional days, there's not instruction. So what I'm hearing now in a lot of those districts, because we had teachers that work in our district with their kids going up to Onondaga county districts, and they're very frustrated, and they're having conversations with their principals in those districts and their superintendents saying, okay, not only is it watered down when we have the kids in for maybe 35 or 40 minutes with their teacher with just 12 or 13 kids in the class, but then what is happening for the rest of the week? Because as of right now, Regents exams are still on, all of that is expected instructional time to happen. There are some districts that, let's say on Wednesdays, they're only calling that office hours. I would be fired from this job if I did that, and then all of a sudden we got audited, which, trust me, Como will audit if he can find ways to not have to pay districts money. We get about $230,000 a day in aid, so if they came back and said, hold on a second here, your Wednesdays are just office hours, how is that instructional time? You will not be reimbursed the millions of dollars. I don't know how I could sit in this seat and then say to the taxpayers, sorry about that, because what Como would say is, that was very clear on what constitutes as instructional time and connecting and whatnot. So I don't want to slam other districts. I just want people to understand that it was very difficult for us to not have the high school students in, or a very limited amount of middle school. Our plan, what I tasked them with was, let's bring them in as much as we can. And then when they came back and said, yeah, this is what it would look like, even if we brought them in one day, the 4 days would be non-existent because the teachers would be working 4.5 full days to give each kid 1 day each. And so when you say that to parents, some of the parents are like, but that's okay, the social piece is more important. But I have to turn around back and say, to not give instruction, really, for 4 other days would be devastating. Especially at the high school level, kids are in college courses, or not, it would just be very much lacking. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, let's face it, we're trying to make the best of a really, 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 really horrible situation. That's the facts of the matter. It is a horrible, horrible situation. I said back in August, bring the kids back in person at all cost. Not at all cost that we lose, we lose money from the state. That would be not be a good steward of our community taxpayer dollars. So again, I think, or I believe in my heart of hearts, that we've got a plan that is the best plan in a very lousy, deplorable situation.
And for consistency purposes, you see school districts dropping like flies. People are, right now, I'm not going to say the names because it's not public yet, you're going to see 2 more districts in our county. They're going to be closed. And what people need to really understand is I speak regularly with the Onondaga County Health Department and the Oswego County Health Department, and they are overwhelmed right now with their contact tracing. So now that Syracuse City just came on with in-person today, as well as SUNY Oswego, it's not going to be like it was 2 weeks ago where they said, you know what, you've got 2 kids in that classroom, okay, we're going to close that one classroom. Now it's going to say, you got to close it for 2 days at least, maybe a week. Well, we can do those points of contact. Right now, we have students that have tested positive, they're quarantining across our whole district. It doesn't impact us at the secondary level as long as they're not playing sports or band. But at the elementary, right now, there are second points. So parents have tested positive. It hasn't been the students, but the students are being quarantined. Once the students or a staff member is, we're going to be in the same boat as everybody else. We're just lucky at this point. And I say lucky, but also the teachers do a wonderful job, as you saw, with the 6 feet apart in the mask, really minimizing that chance of exposure that all districts with in-person it's the price. It's the cost of doing business right now. But I appreciate it. Thank you.
Any other topics from the board? All right. Mr. Thompson, our student board rep, anything you'd like to bring up?
Yes, I don't know if this is on. Oh, isn't it? Okay. Tonight I would like to talk about the dress code with all of you. I asked my fellow high school students for suggestions and ideas that they wanted me to pursue. I was given the idea to change the dress code. I had this idea prior when we were given a project in 9th grade English, but now I have the opportunity to discuss it with all of you. I asked the students whether they thought the dress code was fair, and the majority who answered said no. Those who responded saying no think some aspects of the dress code should be altered. That is why I want to bring up the idea of changing the dress code to something more suitable and updated than what it is currently. When I asked students why they find the dress code unfair, they said, quote, "I just feel the dress code targets girls and doesn't do anything to the guys no matter what they wear," unquote. Another stated, quote, I just think the dress code has been very one-sided and misogynistic, but I do understand not allowing anyone to be shirtless, unquote. These two statements bring up points of the unfairness of the dress code within the district and being one-sided. When I did indoor track, the boys were allowed to be shirtless, and I also noticed the wrestling team were allowed the same privilege without any cause for alarm. One student had said, quote, I, being a male, have never been dress coded and do not recall any instances of seeing or hearing another male being dress coded. But I have seen and heard of females being dress coded, unquote. He also went on to elaborate that when he was in cheer, the girls were wearing sports bras when practice. A male teacher walked in and they got in trouble, which I feel is hypocritical since the males were able to be shirtless for their activities, but the girls weren't. The students shared with me an experience they had regarding the dress code, stating, quote, I've never been dress coded. I generally play it safe. I do remember in middle school being so nervous that I would get dress coded for my shorts, being a couple inches short of length requirements. I was also so nervous about it all day. And it kind of distracted me from my schoolwork that day, unquote. I've noticed that this district's code of conduct now steers away from using words such as interfere, but looking at the students' experience, we noticed that the dress code inhibited their learning experience. Upon further analysis, this contradicts the school's educational mission. While I do understand that the board's intentions were meant to be universally inclusive, I agree with my peers in many aspects. I believe that there should be rules and regulations set in place, but they should be fair and enforced for everyone equally. I appreciate the opportunity given to me to speak on behalf of the students, and thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Tom, as I was listening to that, I guess my one question is, is every dress code violation tracked? Is it noted like other violations? Like, do we have data that will show whether it's biased towards males or females or not? Or
I'd have to check on that. County, do you know if every violation will say it's a male or female?
To be honest, I can't remember any violation that ended in a disciplinary consequence. Most of the time it's just about, hey, you throw a sweater on or you change your clothes or.
Right.
I'm sure it's in the drop down, right, Aaron? In school. I just can't think of a single time that it's really got.
Nor can I. I mean, anecdotally, I can tell you since my office wasn't in the high school last year, but prior to that it was because it was at CSI last year. But I would remember boys saying they made me pull my pants up because I wore them too low, my boxers. So I know that we had a lot of discussion about dress code prior to COVID, and we did make some changes. I know that there were some board members that when we sat here during that forum, we had an open forum and community members could come in back when that was like the big thing before COVID. We would have the meeting about the dress code, and it was determined that there were some girls that were just so tall that when they put their hands down, so I know we removed that. We removed things from the dress code and the code of conduct, so we definitely took in what parents and what students had said. So what I could do, Jake, was I could get you maybe the most updated so then you could see where it was and then what it's changed to.
Well, I remember looking at the 2017 one. I think that's when I had done the project or whatever, and that's when you said, because I know you had changed it, because when I said the interfere part, because it used to say they'd be removed or like be asked to change or something if they interfered with educational things.
So remember, interfere could also be something inappropriately written. It doesn't necessarily mean it's revealing. So if there's something that, as attorneys would say, if there's something written there that would then be a distraction that would cause a disruption in the educational program. So, but I'd be more than happy to get you, what we have now, and then if you have any questions, or more importantly, equally important is if people have problems and they're coming to you, we could then specifically see what specifically do they still have a problem with the dress code, and then we can go from there. Because again, before COVID, we did have a couple forums right here where there were a lot of parents and a lot of board members went to it, some students went to it, and I thought we addressed all of those, but I'm more than happy to go back and take a look.
Okay, well,
The current code of conduct, I update, it got approved in August.
Which one? What current?
Current one, the one that's online.
So it should be right in your resources on your Canvas class, you should have the code of conduct. So the new dress code should be right in there.
Okay. So take a look at that, and then you can contact me directly if there's things that are in that updated code of conduct, because I know we made significant changes listening to the community and the students.
Thank
But
you.
part of what I heard that he said is it being inequitably administered. So I don't know that, I don't want that to be missed with respect to, I mean, I think he's questioning the content of some of it, but he's also questioning the way that it's put into play, essentially the way it's being managed. And so I don't know how we get more information about that. And I think what you were suggesting about, do we keep track of how many females are dress coded versus males? I don't know that we can track that. I don't know that.
Well, I did hear that, but the big part of it too was the closure was in March. So usually what we would see would be in the spring. We didn't get a chance to see any of that. Correct. We didn't really get a chance to see how that would go into play because, well, there was no in-person learning. So unless they were dressed inappropriately on Zoom, So, but to both their points, we'll take a look at that. If you don't know where that link is, you can shoot me an email. I know exactly where that is. I can shoot you the email, and then you can put back out to the people that came to you and say, take a look at the most updated one in the code of conduct, and maybe that might have it addressed. But to their point, we also have to ask legal, can we track that? How many, males were written up compared to how many females? And then overall, what's the percentage of boys and girls? So it's not skewed from the beginning, and we'll go from there.
Jacob, aside from the tracking part of it, if there's something in the updated dress code that you or the students would like to see changed, it would be good to put it in writing. That's actually what our process says that we're supposed to do. So if you want to put it in writing, then we can actually refer it to the policy committee, and they can look at it and take your feedback.
Edit the current one and then email one of you how I did it or how the students wanted it edited.
I think that's fine as long as it's the most up to date. Because what I don't want to go is go to a version before the current one. Because
I know where the current one is. I think I've looked at it, and then I'll have the students look at it as well and ask their thoughts and their revisions, and then I'll get it to you guys.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Awesome. Thank you, Jake.
Thank you.
Anything else?
No.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, and then we're going to turn it over to Mr. Colville for the superintendent's report. I did just want to point out, though, that heads up for the board at the next meeting, right? The letter you sent about Bethany today.
Correct, go ahead.
It just, so the board is aware, Tom will get information to us before the next meeting, but we're going to have a discussion around whether or not to basically participate in a national lawsuit against the manufacturers of Juul e-cigarettes. There's a national thing going on, and our law firm is involved in it. So they'll send out more information, but that'll probably be, I would think, a fairly significant conversation next week because, that's one of those things. If we're going to put our name to it, it's a big deal because we then are putting a target on our backs as well. It's going to obviously make headlines. So be a big conversation.
So I'll give it to you all in the Friday memo. It's not going to cost us anything. It's one of those class action lawsuits that if we win, then the lawyers would, get paid for that. But you'll get all that in the Friday memo, and then we'll have that discussion at the next board meeting. Great. All right. Ready, Pearl? Haley Wade, Paul B. Moore, 2020 graduate, received $300 from the Jacqueline Dimmick Memorial Scholarship Fund for being the high school big of the year in 2019-20. It's a shame. This is a dinner that I love going to every year. They did not have it opened up this year, for obvious reasons. Aaron Dano was Haley's mentor manager at AA Cole in Constantia. Haley's now a freshman at SUNY Oswego, majoring in early childhood education. Congratulations, Haley. One of our students at Paul V. Moore High School, 11th grader, Alexandra Speller, entered her artwork into the Arise Art and Literary Unique Project. She went to the Everson Museum with her parents to observe her artwork on exhibit, and it was beautiful. And it was really nice. Her father reached out to me, and it was just great to see a proud father. We have many of them in our district. Congratulations to Sarah Cyrell and Ethan Wells for being recognized and commended as commended students in the 2021 National Merit Scholarship Program. These students represent a valuable national resource. recognizing their accomplishments as well as the key role their schools play in the academic development. It is vital to the advancement of educational excellence in our nation. Thank you to all of our staff. The CSSD plan is student-focused and stresses the importance of education and instruction. We are very proud of the entire faculty and the staff and the efforts they've shown. Again, Board Member Tim McCarthy alluded to this. It's been very difficult. If we could have all of our students in here, we would. If Cuomo lifted the 6-foot rule, which I think some people are still confused upon, it absolutely had to be, classrooms had to be built with students 6 feet apart. And when they could not be 6 feet apart, meaning in the hallways around the school bus, they had to wear masks. I bring that up to say if the governor lifts that, we're immediately going to change that and bring in as many students as we can. So if he changes that, then obviously the health department has signed off on that. Nobody that created this plan, and to Tim's point, I can't even tell you how many hours it's been. It's not just, definitely not just a 7 to 5. It's till about midnight. I get emails from Kristen Enright, Connie Galvan, Arena, our head of special education. It's a never-ending situation where we're constantly looking to improve. We went to a new learning management system, which was a direct result of over 900 parents that reached out and said, we need one platform. We're pulling our hair out trying to, learn Schoology, Google Classroom, Kahoot, and just like hundreds of apps that were very creative that the teachers used, but for parents that were just getting pulled in 1,000 different directions. Hats off to the teachers. I know it was not smooth going in the first, couple of weeks of using the one platform. And no doubt, and there are probably people watching this going, oh, I had an issue today. The issues are becoming less and less, and there's still that Wi-Fi and bandwidth issue that's going on throughout the whole country, and it's irrelevant what learning management system you're using because many districts use Google Classroom, which isn't even a learning management system, but it goes off, it shuts down, it's not working. School was not meant to be this way, whether Bill Gates or other people think that it's supposed to be that way. It's not. It's supposed to be the traditional learning environment where technology enhances the learning, but it doesn't replace what the teachers do in the classrooms. It can never replace that. So I want everyone to know there is definitely no substitution. This is like what Tim McCarthy and what Mr. Patch said. We're trying to make the best of a horrible situation. Once these restrictions are lifted, we're below 1% spread rate. I can't wait for that day. We have sports. We do not have preseason. I just want to finish by saying there were some very frustrated parents, and it's very hard for me because when parents come back and say, I thought you wanted what's best for kids, that hurts because I love going I recognize, we all recognize what sports does and for students, for their engagement, for their grades, for their behavior, everything. But we wanted to, in conjunction, in collaboration with the athletic directors across the county and the superintendents, I sit on the Section 3 committee for representing the superintendents of Oswego County. And we were told at one of the meetings that the New York State Sports Association, Public Sports Association, is really seeing the fall season as the litmus test for the entire year of the multiple seasons. If the fall season got shut down, we all would be hard-pressed to see any sports on. So we wanted to give the fall sports their opportunity as opposed to having lacrosse preseason, baseball preseason, pole vaulting, winter sports, everything going on right now, because all you have to do is turn on the computer and see schools are shutting down left and right. And yes, when they're shutting down, they're also shutting down their sports and whatnot for the time being. Speaking for myself, I'm not afraid of COVID and what would happen if some people got COVID, because it's happening all the time and the spread rate is below 1%. And I would never want to see anybody, get sick and worse than that. But what I am scared of is the way that the health departments, and I'm not knocking them because I get it, they only have the size of the staff that they have, but because of the contact tracing, it is so intensive that the points of contact, where maybe 2 weeks ago they were able to say, okay, we're going to shut a building down for a day or two, Now with all of Syracuse City coming on and with SUNY Oswego, you're going to see, if you haven't seen it already today, you'll see it tonight. More school districts are forced to close just because of a few cases. So it's that mass quarantine that's really kind of jamming things up. So I just wanted to say I'm very proud of the work that we put in to the reopening plan. I wish we could have more in person, and when the governor starts to lift restrictions, we will absolutely do that. Thank you. Oh, yes. We wanted to just show you quickly what you hear the words Canvas, and we just wanted to show you what it looked like. What it looks like at the elementary, what it looks like at the secondary. At the elementary, Aaron, correct me if I'm wrong, but we've got about 365 kids that are distance learning only. Would that be correct?
I think so.
So it started out 235.
We had a couple come hybrid Friday, so I'm back.
The majority of them, parents just didn't feel comfortable with maybe an elderly person at home or whatnot. And so it jumped significantly from 235 to the high 300s. And again, our teachers are doing a really good job. So we're using Canvas not just for the kids that are distance learning only, but obviously since our elementary kids are only in person 2 out of the 3 days, they are utilizing Canvas when they're at home.
So this is the admin just got their accounts, about a week and a half ago. So we just started poking around in here and getting, so we just started getting in and learning it ourselves. We had a PD last week on it, so we're getting there. But, one of the pieces that we really we're trying to incorporate into Canvas is the asynchronous learning for the kids who are home at the elementary level so today was an AA day, so the BB kids, the kids who are coming to school on Thursday and Friday, either asynchronous work, or we've got some teachers who are experimenting with bringing the kids into their live instruction. So they're at home, but the teacher has them included in their lesson. So they're getting the lesson in real time with the kids who are in school. So we're trying to get that word out and spread that to teachers who feel comfortable with technology. So that is getting started, and it's really cool. I saw it at Miller Talk 2 weeks ago now, I think. So this is just one primary teacher's class that we're trying to get more in. So this is Miss Navarro's class, so this is kind of what the kids would see. So they would scroll up, there's the question of the day for their attendance. So the kids put their name in there and answer how are they feeling. And then they can go to, the Let's Read button has different like epic books and things like that where the kids can go for just to read. There's specials, they click on the special link and it brings them to the special that they have. So this class has art. And it brings them right to Miss Staley's art class, where they've got their buttons down there so they can go to their live art class on Wednesdays. The assignments are there. And then when they go back to their home button, so then this teacher has it set up where the kids would click on, so this is a first grade class. So they would click on Monday, and this team is working together. So this is Miss Navarro's class, but you will see that this teacher is not Miss Navarro. For those of you who know Miss Navarro and Colleen Shire, this teacher is Colleen Shire. So they've got their skills lesson, which is that explicit instruction. So the kids who are home, I'm just going to show a short clip because this is a little bit long, but.
Hi boys and girls, today we are going to be working on lesson 18. Our learning targets for today are I can read and write the spelling of the, I can chain words with different spellings, and I can read phrases and sentences. So first we are going.
So this is an example of what they actually do in kindergarten and first grade. So you're going to see them tapping and
Going
so
to
it's
do a little
the actual
blending and
instruction.
segmenting. We are going to tap out the sounds, and I'd love you to do each word with me. remember, sometimes two spellings or letters will work together to make just one sound. Here we go. Cop. Great job. O-A. Play. And there we see it. We see a team work together to make one sound. Sound alike, but they have a little bit of a difference.
So here's where we're going to
So
try to
we
get
have
the TH sound.
You can feel that.
They do different activities with it. And then there's the piece where she's got their whiteboard, so the kids are actually, like at home, they would be with a parent or somebody or practicing their change.
Than. We got to use our TH. Than. I would like you to change than to then. Then. That's changing that middle vowel sound from an F to an X. Then.
So that's what you would see if you observed a classroom. That's the asynchronous instruction. And then they've got, you can see the directions, and I fast forwarded it, but they worked on page 18.1. So she said you can pause it here and work on this sheet, and then come back. And then there's another homework page, 18.2, that they do at the end. Then there's some extra practice. They've got their math video there with their problem set 13. So again, this is the teaching of it. And then listening and learning, this is a pausing point. So they're doing fairy tales right now. So if you click on, the kids go to their Nearpod, they join their lesson. And this is just review. So the pausing point is where they review. So their little fairy tale questions. So my little monster gets to move up the mountain because I got it right. And because it's in a Nearpod, the teacher will get the immediate feedback as to how the students are doing with their fairy tale information, if they're remembering it or not. So this is what we're trying to get our elementary teachers to, so that this is true asynchronous. There's teaching and then activities for feedback to go along with it. And then Connie is going to show you middle school.
And I can just say, in talking to the elementary teachers, they are seeing growth. So it is absolutely working.
Yep, absolutely.
Well, Connie's setting up, I just wanted to share, we had a high school business teacher that spoke with me today. And she had said that she is able to literally connect with the kids, each of them for 2 hours at the high school level, 2 hours, just great dialogue back and forth. And she's been having multiple just one-to-one Zoom connections with students as well on that level, that if we were to try to bring students in for one day and they would be teaching 4.5 full days, there's no way that she would be able to have those, the level of dialogue she's able to have with those students.
I had a question at the elementary level. So the HME presentation earlier, were the kids on the screen were kids that are 100% virtual, and they're assigned to because the teacher's repeating their lessons twice each week, right? They're doing it with the AA kids, and then they're doing it with the BB kids.
There are some things though, because those, to answer your question, it wasn't just the virtual kids that were home.
No, those were the kids who, so whatever day that was filmed, so if that was like an AA day, if that was a Monday or Tuesday, the kids that were on the screen were the Thursday, Friday kids. So they're home, and the teacher has them on their screen, and the kids are in the class, so they can see each other.
So when they're BB kids in person, is that same lesson being repeated and the AA kids are home
No,
together?
they keep moving.
No, they would never bring the other group on and then redo that again.
Right.
They would only do an activity when they have all the kids, and it works at the elementary, but when you speak to the secondary teachers and the principal, it doesn't work to the higher level of academic content than it would for the really younger kids when they're trying to bring everybody in together.
So there's 4 days of in-class instruction in a week. They're teaching something different every day, and half the kids will be in person learning it, the other half at home.
So teachers are doing it different. So the teachers who are comfortable with doing and getting the kids on, the kids who are home,
So, like, today's a Monday, so the Thursday, Friday kids were online while the teacher was teaching that English class, that ELA class, that lesson. So the kids are getting it in real time, can ask the teacher questions right there. So they don't need to repeat that instruction. If all of their kids are online, great, they're there. If not, they record it so that the kids who may have missed it can watch it later. So then the teachers have the afternoon where they can take and pull small groups of kids for intervention, remediation. If they're getting their Nearpod results back or math things back and they're seeing that the kids are struggling, they're able to take them and remediate in the afternoon as opposed to getting on in the afternoon with their class and reteaching the same lesson that they just taught that day to the kids who were home that day. So we've got different teachers kind of doing different things and trying to figure out the best way for them. I just worked with some teachers last week at AA Cole, and they got all their kids majority of their kids are getting on for their like morning meeting, their social emotional piece. And they're finding that a lot of their kids are struggling with the skills part that I just showed you. So they're going to keep the kids on and have them get the instruction from the teacher. Instead of doing it asynchronously, they're going to get the instruction from the teacher in the moment, and then in the afternoon, they can pull small groups for the kids who are at home. They can pull them with either, morning kids that were there and really remediate and try to get their skills up so that they can really get into some grade level content.
It'll be interesting data to see if, topic X was taught on Monday and 80 kids were there, if they understand it better than the BB kids that were online, and then, vice versa on Thursday, Friday. But anyhow, so the kids that are 100% virtual are in a different classroom entirely.
They have a virtual teacher.
Okay, thank you.
This isn't elementary specific, it could be for either, but is every, like you were mentioning recording, is every session that they do or class that they hold, is it recorded?
If they have all, in talking with the teacher that I spoke with personally and watched, if all of her kids are on with her, so she knows that she's got all the kids that are home on the screen and they're all getting the lesson, right now it's not recorded because they're getting it in real time. If she sees that even one student is absent, then she records it so that that student can go back on and watch it later.
And this is not to challenge that, it's just I'm giving you feedback. I've heard from a number of parents that they would love it if it was, because very often what's happening, and again, this isn't a school thing, but with Wi-Fi and all the connections, too often they're disconnecting or losing it in the middle, and then they don't get to get caught back up. So I'm just wondering if there's any thought to always recording it, because then there's a library for the kids to go back to if there is a problem.
Yeah, I know, I think that if Tricia were seeing that, she would do that. She's, she only has, I think, 8 kids that are home, but her class could be very different than, say, Nancy Richards, who's down the hall, and depending on where her kids are located, they may have that. So I can definitely bring it up to Amanda to share with her people.
Erin, piggybacking off of that, similarly, you're talking about one or a few teachers that you've talked to. Is there anything kind of across the board that's being encouraged, if not required, that if there are students missing from class, that they are recording the session?
Yes, that's definitely, that's the asynchronous piece, so that's what I just showed you, so that's there for those kids. So it just depends on, we're trying to get the teachers who are doing, so the hybrid stuff, so that it looks, I'm trying to go in and find those models for people, so that that's kind of, when you talk asynchronous work, that's kind of what you want, right? You want the teacher or some type of explicit instruction, be it a video or whatever the case may be, with some practice so that the teacher knows how the student's doing with that work.
Right.
So that's what we're trying to expect for people. I'm not going to push the technology right now on people to get those kids in, but those who the principals think are ready for it, and it's spreading, so it's starting to spread in Miller Hawk, where 4th grade is like, I want in on that, and 1st grade is doing the social emotional piece, and they're going to try to branch out into content, because it frees up their afternoon to really pinpoint kids and give them, when you walk into an elementary school, at any given point when all the kids are there, you see the teacher with small groups of kids. So if they can get the kids on live and teach them in the moment, then they have that afternoon to be able to pull those small groups. And the parents are
working fantastically with whoever to get them on in the afternoon. So we're trying to get more teachers to that point. Some will get there faster than others, but, you know.
Right. So is it fair to say then that on AA days, for instance, BB students who are attending virtually, there's the asynchronous pieces on there already for Monday. You have the asynchronous, but this particular teacher that you're talking about will also have them be live. So maybe those students wouldn't have to watch the asynchronous.
Correct.
But they would then, if they were absent, they would have the option of watching the live program that she did with the students or watch the asynchronous video she pre-recorded.
I believe that is how she has it set up, yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think the big thing is when this all started, NICET's stance was to not have the teachers videotape. That's really what it was. And then I think that more and more teachers realized that that was just a recommendation, and they're doing it anyway. It's not violating anything. We've been working to make sure that if there's kids in the class with no video, no picture, that they wouldn't be part of it. It wouldn't be, taped. It wouldn't be live. So it's figuring that out. But we also have a way that the teachers can teach, and it's their voice, and it's everything they put on their smart board, and then they can see that. So if a parent wants to come home and their child was struggling, and maybe the child was with grandma during the day, the mom can then go on, hit that, see that lesson again, and we're getting there. We really are. I'm really proud of what Aaron and the elementary teachers and what Connie, the secondary teachers, have been able to do.
Yeah, because being that, I've always talked about data, it'll be really interesting to see, kind of piggybacking off of what she was talking about, is that the testing of the 100% virtual versus the kids that, what the difference is, and then how that's gonna play out as to whether if it was even, one was better than the other, one gave you an advantage over a disadvantage. I don't know. I mean, what do you think? What's your gut telling you?
I don't know, I think every teacher is working super hard to give the kids that equal piece. The virtual teachers have different obstacles than the hybrid teachers do. I mean, we're trying to, right now, just figure out our assessments online and working with Irena and her team to, when you try to assess a kindergartner, first grade student's writing and their penmanship, you don't write on a computer, you trace or you draw a line, and it's different. So we're trying to figure out those different pieces, the math assessments. How can you put a math assessment in, which I'm sure the secondary teachers are having the same problem with the tools and everything like that in there, because so Chris and Adam get right back to teachers when there's a question, because it's the first time through anything, right? So it's our first mid-module assessment coming up in 5th grade, and they need the division equation or whatever it is.
Symbol.
They need different things, and they can't access it. So Chris gave them a workaround. So we'll see how it goes, but we'll be able to tell because all the kids take the same assessment. So.
And I've had parents call me up who are just virtual, and they're frustrated. Some of them were frustrated. Some love it because they're like, that's how my kid learns. It's amazing. But some were frustrated. They're like, how can you tell me that this replicates the in-person? I said, well, 100% doesn't. You're choosing to keep your kid home 100% of the time, and we're doing everything we can to be able to support your child. But like she just said, there are certain things that we cannot replicate, like writing. But again, we have to respect the fact that the parent wants their kid home 100% of the time.
Oh yeah, no, and I'm not. The data will be what the data will be, right?
Sure.
You can't be critical of one over the other. That's not my point. It will be interesting though.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
As far as what the first evaluation is going to be.
There's going to be many studies on this moment in time.
Yeah, I mean, my gut, right, being on this earth for a while, not much longer than most here in this room, that this is going to hurt the educational system for a very long time this year, right? That's we're going to March, in my opinion. So that's going to be a year. So what's that going to cost? And it's not only within the public school system, it's also with college, right? That's completely different compared to what it was. And then throw in the, like my granddaughter's going to a private school, kindergarten, 5 days a week, all day. What's the advantage that she's going to have over kids that aren't allowed? To me, it's a big deal. And that's going to be coming up too.
And I hope it is over in March.
I hope to.
Thanks.
Okay, so I'm going to walk you through a secondary class. This is an 8th grade ELA class. I'll start out to show you the overview page. She introduces herself, and down at the bottom, our 3 buttons are a little bit about your teacher, question board, and learning modules. Most of the navigation comes on the left side. The announcements, you'll see the teacher puts those up pretty regularly every day. Then the modules are the actual instructional pieces. Within the modules, you'll see attendance checks. That's so that when a student is not there and they want to tap in and do something asynchronous, they answer the question and then they get their attendance credit. Because they might be caring for a younger sibling, you don't know why they're not there. They may be ill themselves, but we want to make sure that they get their attendance credit. Different assignments, I'm going to kind of show you a little bit about what those look like. So what they've been working on in particular things, constructed responses, graphic organizers, paragraphs, paragraph writing. I guess I kind of have to sign as a student to show you that. Up here where you see conferences, each one of these is when the teacher is doing the live instruction with the students. So the student would come in and sign in. Like today, earlier, I may have bombed this class. I've just started to sign into the different ones. So up here where you see that it says start, it'll say in progress. I can click in and I go right into the live class for the students and the teachers. And remember, at secondary, nobody's in person. So you have a teacher sitting in a room kind of talking to herself, or it looks like she's talking to herself, but really there's a number of kids on the other end. I went into some breakout rooms today, and I think it was 7th grade French. And all of a sudden I see the chat come up. Who's that Concetta person that's in the breakout room? She's not in our class. And because I forgot to introduce myself, I'm like, no, it's okay. I'm Ms. Galvan. I'm the assistant superintendent. I'm supposed to be here. But they knew like that. There's a stranger in the breakout room. Get her out. And everybody stopped talking. I thought, why aren't they talking? Because as soon as they saw me log in, they immediately thought somebody wasn't supposed to be there. I thought that was kind of cool. I'm going to go back up. I wanted to show how this particular teacher gives access to the asynchronous learning. So I'm going to go to the pages. I had to write it all down. Video lesson.
I spoke with 6 high school teachers today, and they said they had 100% attendance and amazing participation from all the kids in the classes today, and I regularly check on that.
So, I don't know why I'm not finding her view all pages. I think it was in her modules, yes. There she is. So video lesson, here's an example. And again, this is Ellen Paradise and ELA.
For September 28th is the Monday. So the first thing you'll notice is that we have some announcements. If you need to complete any missing work or revise any work or higher score, go ahead and check the tool and update your work. Be sure to submit. And the other thing you can do is there's extra help on Monday, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays at 2:22. Go ahead and send me a campus inbox, and I will send you a statement. So what we're going to do today is we're going to go to modules in our English class. You'll notice it's down 4. And in our daily lesson, we have our learning targets, our agenda, and our homework. Learning targets are 1, I can define the literary devices, tone, and mood. And 2, I can identify tone and mood in examples and in poems from Inside Out and Back Again by Hannah Bai. Here's your agenda. The agenda. We're going to do attendance. We're going to do a Nearpod on tone and mood. And then your homework is to complete that Nearpod on tone and mood for a grade. And if you're missing anything or you want to revise, you can do that as well. Also, right here is a resource on Tony Mood. So what you should do is you should open that and keep it open so the reviews are also on. Okay, go back into your modules, and if you go out, you'll see that the Nearpod lesson is right here in the module on day 928, Nearpod assignment. Mood. We're going to open that up, and the link is embedded right here for you. Okay, so once you do that, you're going to come to Tone and Mood. Nearpod says, Tone and Mood definitions. Tone is the author's attitude about the topic, characters, and events. Mood is the atmosphere or emotion created for the reader. So, let's start with tone. Even though we use the same...
So, and I just wanted to jump in real quick. I know on Facebook,
you know, you're going to have the parents, and there's going to be the negative comments. I don't think badly about those parents. I get it. They're frustrated. They want their kids to be in, you know, 5 days a week. I have those conversations still regularly on my work cell phone all the time, and parents just are frustrated with the restrictions and they want their kids in. They, at no fault of the teachers, the administration, that's where that is. But I don't want it to go by the wayside that there are a lot of parents that are really happy, not the fact that the governor has all these restrictions, but they're really happy with what the teachers are putting together. Solid instruction. They said, we made suggestions over the first closure, and the teachers listened. Because now we're getting direct instruction, and they feel that the kids are going to be prepared when they take the Regents exams or, you know, college entrance, things like that. So just because maybe they're not on Facebook saying things, I just want you to know, I can forward all those emails to the board. There are a lot of parents that are happy with the situation that we're making out of just a bad situation.
Is there anything else? Is there anything else anybody wants to see?
Thanks, Connie. I just wanted to see, you know, you hear Canvas, I just wanted you to be able to see what it looks like, the elementary, middle school, high school, what the platform looks like. And again, I know she's on here, Arena. I can't thank her team enough. From 6 o'clock in the morning to about 9 o'clock at night, they're taking help desk tickets. They're really, you know, doing amazing things. And I've got friends in other districts and both counties, and they're asking for advice on what we're doing technology-wise, so they can do those same things, which is a testament to Arena and her team.
All right. Thanks. Thank you, Mr. Colbufo. All right, back to our action items. We have item H, and I just want to point something out, Pearl. I don't know if it matters or not, but somehow the names and the letters don't match up. So like the way they're actually attached is, like the management letter is actually D and stuff. Okay. So I don't know if it matters, but I just want to point that out.
I'll change that tomorrow.
But they're all in there. So.
Okay.
I will make a motion to accept item H in its entirety. Any second by Mr. McCarthy. Any discussion on H? And anything from I think the audit committee met tonight, right? So anything worth mentioning?
I thought the work was well done, and the documents speak for themselves, so thank you to Maureen, Lisa, Mike, and whoever else participated.
Thank you.
All right, I think there's no more questions. Mr. Hoyt. Sorry, it's yes, up, down, and yes. Oh, yes. Thank you, Mr. Patch.
Yes.
Mr. McCarthy.
Yes.
Mrs. Fishman.
Yes.
Mr. Martin's a yes. Mrs. Nickerson.
Yes.
Mr. Loye.
Yes.
Mrs. Sundit.
Yes.
And Mrs. Wood. There she is. All right, and with that, I will make a motion that the Central Square School District Board of Education hereby moves into executive session to discuss matters leading to the employment and also the employment history leading to specifically tenure of a particular person. Can I get a second? And I'm sorry, with no action to follow. So second by Mr. Loye. For everyone out here, we will not be coming back into open session out here. We're just going to close the meeting because there's no action to take. So any other discussion? All those in favor? Since Mrs. Wood will not be able to join us in there. Thank you and have a good night, everyone.